Welcome back to a new review, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with the Jak and Daxter Marathon. This time it's the end of the main trilogy with Jak 3 for the PlayStation 2. Before we start, I do want to address something. In case you don't know, I have a Let's Play channel called Jay's Let's Plays, and around the release of my review of Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy, my Let's Play of it started as well. And I said a lot of the same things I did in the review, but starting with Part 9, I had two guest commentators, Nick on Agua Magna and some other asshole. Parts 10 and 11 were set to go up, but I accidentally deleted those two videos permanently. So I spent all my free time on the following day to beat the entire game 100% all over again. And honestly, I really enjoyed it. I guess the more you play it, the better it gets. Point being that my updated opinion on Jak 1 is that it's a fun game that can get annoying in a few stages like the Precursor Basin, but it's still a great time overall. Anyway, back on the subject of this video, I actually had a pretty hard time finding anything related to the development of Jak 3. I mean, basically they wanted to make the most epic conclusion to any game trilogy ever, with all the commercials in the back of the box supporting that statement.
Well, Jak, it's over. There's just one thing left to say. I am your father.
What?
I'm your father!
Right, yeah.
Listen to your feelings.
You're not my
No,
father.
seriously, your mother and I...
The epic Jak trilogy is coming to its dramatic conclusion.
Before you were born, obviously.
Rest assured, it won't end like this.
With a story by Jason Rubin himself, co-founder of Naughty Dog, alongside Andy Gavin. And by the way, this is also the duo's last game at the company. I mean, yeah, Jak X and the Uncharted games and The Last of Us had nothing to do with the founders of the company. This is the same year that Ratchet & Clank 3 came out, and also the same year that Sly 2 came out, so I guess we can all say that you know which game is my favorite game of the year. Personally, I have just as many memories with Jak 3 as I do Jak 2, because I got both games at the same time, and it took me years to beat this game as well. And in 2011, after I finished my hellish playthrough of Jak 2, I tried to finish Jak 3. And about a week or so later, I finally finished Jak 3. And since then, I've played and beaten Jak 3 many times, and I have many pros and cons with the game. So anyway, let's get on with the plot. Jak 3 takes place directly after Jak 2. Peace was achieved, but this peace did not last very long, as Metalhead armies are on the move again alongside the Crimson Guard robots who have turned against the city, and the two forces are completely destroying the city. The people are blaming the fact that Jak was the one who helped Crew get the Metalheads into the city, and new character Count Vigor is helping grow the city's hatred for Jak. And then the palace is destroyed, and so Jak, Daxter, and Pecker are cast out from the city and left to die. However, Ashland gives Jak a beacon to which an entire civilization of desert dwellers, who suffered the same fate as Jak and company, will find them and take them to the city of Spargus, led by Damus, who tells Jak and Daxter that they must prove their worth to the city by fighting in the arena. That, and Pecker now personally works for Damus. And Jak and Daxter meet Cleaver, who, wants to eat Daxter, I guess.
I'd say that yappy rodent of yours is a bit bony, but skinned and buttered, he'd make a nice treat.
And they also meet Seam, who, really fears death. That's easily my least favorite part of the plot, the fact that a lot of the new characters don't have much personality. Except for Damus, so I really like his character, similar to the cast of Jak 2. He's got a backstory. I mean, he used to rule Haven City. When Praxis rose to power, Damus was banished to the Wasteland. However, he lost something in the city and is desperately trying to get it back, and you'll have to play the game to find out, or wait till the spoiler section. And overall, his character helps make the Jak and Daxter universe more fleshed out. Anyway, skip to this point in the video if you want to avoid spoilers. Jak fulfills several tasks in Spargus, including meeting the Precursor Oracle, who gives Jak light powers. Jak meets Ashland, and she gives Jak the amulet the young Jak had. Jak uses this to return to Haven City, and we find out from Count Vigor the light in the sky is a group of precursors that were affected by dark eco known as the Darkmakers, and these guys destroy whole planets. And then he has the Metalheads attack the palace, so therefore he could try to get into the catacombs. What's in there, we don't entirely know. Jak rejoins the Freedom League with familiar faces like Torn, Jinx, Ashland, Samos, Onin, Tess, and Kira. We also meet up with Sig, who is from the Wasteland and was a spy on Jak 2 trying to find Damus' son, who is the thing that Damus lost. Jak finds out that Arrow is the leader of the KG robots. Jak learns that the reason Vigor had the Metalheads attack the palace was so they can get into the catacombs, which is passageway to the Precursors. Jak and Daxter team up with Damus to get there, however, Damus is killed in action, and we then learn that Damus is the father of Jak, which was built up the whole time. Honestly, this is my favorite scene of the game, because Damus died not knowing that his long-lost son was right there in front of him, and the acting for both characters is really great. We also find out that young Jak's name was Mar, and this can be taken many different ways. I mean, you could say that Jak is Mar and built Haven City, or you could just be like me and believe that Jak was named after Mar. because if Jack was smart, then that would make the chronology of this series even more confusing than it already is. Which is why I'm happy to introduce you to the Jak and Daxter timeline as told by an 8-year-old. So here, you can clearly see that the timeline begins with the Precursor Legacy, which goes to Daxter, which goes to Jak 2, but the old Jak sends the young Jak back to before Precursor Legacy, to which that game happens again, and it's an infinite time loop, in which case the same events keep on repeating themselves over and over and over again. But anyway, back in the main timeline, Jak 2 goes to Jak 3, but then Jak goes back in time way before the Precursor Legacy so he can help the Precursors create the universe, but then goes forward in time to the ending of Jak 3, to which case he goes to Jak X, and then some kind of alternate universe he goes to the Lost Frontier. By the way, this alternate universe is completely implausible, I'm just considering the idea. And then, of course, the only logical conclusion is that after the Lost Frontier you're taken to a garbage can. As well as the entire cast, Mike Irwin's Jak is really good, and very fitting for the character, as well as the wide variety of DC Animated Universe actors all do a great job. Anyway, Jak and Vigor race to the Precursors, and then Jak is about to be transformed into a Precursor, but Vigor gets it instead. But then we find out who the Precursors really are. 2 whole games of lore have been building up to this. What the fuck?
Oh my god.
All of that lore, and the whole point of it was to reveal this gag. This is easily my least favorite thing about the game. The game tries very hard to be epic and funny. The epic part was pretty okay. I mean, the stakes are the highest they've ever been in the series, but the humor is where I have a problem. I have a feeling that since Ratchet & Clank 2 did a lot of humor, Naughty Dog figured they should try it. Plenty of fourth wall breaks and—
You are still here?
Yeah, we thought we'd hang out, catch some rays.
This isn't a game.
Daxter doing a lot of witty remarks and screaming. Another thing I don't like is how useless everyone is. I mean, in Ratchet & Clank 3, the game makes fun of the useless support team trope. But this game is the definition of that. Torn, Jinx, and Sig get in the action every now and again, but most of them don't. Kira being the biggest example, only having 1 sentence of dialogue. Anyway, Jak travels to the Darkmaker ship in which there are tanks that will destroy the planet. And the ship is destroyed with the Precursors, however, Arrow gets away in at 1 tank, and Jak and Daxter have to finish him, to which they do, and in the end, Jak and Ashlyn kiss, because I guess Jak forgot about Kira and Ashlyn forgot about Torn. The Precursors offer Jak an opportunity to go with them, but he stays with his friends instead. Ending Jak 3. And that's the story, and I said pretty much everything I wanted to, but I'll just say I like Jak 2's plot much better than Jak 3. But I like Jak 3's story much better than the Precursor Legacy, to say the least. The cutscene animation is also great. I mean, in-game graphics are the same as the first Jak, but the cutscenes in Jak 2 and Jak 3 have much better animation and character models, similar to the last game. This game is in 480 progressive scan. The textures look okay, but look pretty bad during that one mission that's in a top-down perspective, which by the way is completely out of nowhere. The soundtrack, however, is miles better than the previous 2 games. Those games had okay soundtracks, but this game has a wide variety of good music that enhances the atmosphere, whether it be on the battlefield or exploring Haven Forest. While not the best soundtrack in video games out there, it's really great. Jak 3, gameplay-wise, is pretty much the exact same thing as Jak 2. We still travel through hub worlds, getting missions and fulfilling said missions. One improvement right off the bat is easily the fact that missions are very close together, so there's no situation in Jak 3 where Jak must go from place to place for over 5 goddamn minutes. However, this time we have 3 hub worlds to travel through. First is Spargus City, which is a pretty small community. Then we go to the Wasteland, which we need these vehicles to drive through. In my opinion, this is only a little better than driving in Jak 2. These vehicles control fine depending on the vehicle. I mean, the Hopper has a great bomb weapon and a super high jump. Then there's the big vehicles, which don't turn well and are the worst the game has to offer. And then there's joke vehicles like the Tough Puppy, which can't defend themselves. And then there's the fact that there's enemies driving around the wasteland trying to get in your way, and there's rocks, and it's really infuriating. But the biggest issue with this by far is the missions, specifically hunting artifacts, because it's irritating as fuck because we are under time limits. Dying is way too easy. These missions don't impact the story, and dying once means you're doing the whole damn thing all over again. Yeah, I'm getting flashbacks to Jak 2 as well. Daxter also becomes playable, and he climbs on monkey bars. I would tell you more about this riveting gameplay, but in the 2 missions where Daxter's playable, that is literally the only thing I can come up with to describe this gameplay. The game, similar to Sly 3, which I reviewed previously, has a lot of gimmicky missions like shooting down metalhead dinosaurs, clearing out a metalhead nest, or that top-down shit. But anyway, figured I'd get the negative stuff out of the way before I say the great things that Jak 3 had, and that would easily be the Jak gameplay. And similar to Sly 3, the Jak gameplay is the best it's ever been in the entire franchise. We don't have that awkward platforming or unbalanced difficulty. Jak controls like a dream, so pulling off all of his punches, double jumps, spins, and dives has never been more satisfying. The Morph Gun is also back in Jak 3, with the same 4 weapons as before, the scattergun being great for big clusters of small enemies, the blaster is the best all-around weapon, the Vulcan Fury being the best for taking on enemies with big health bars, and the Peacemaker being great for bosses. However, each weapon levels up 2 times. The Wave Concussor is even better than the scattergun for clearing up small enemies, but easily one of the best weapons is the Plasma RPG, a bomb that does so much damage to every enemy that's not even funny. But the game's difficulty is completely torn in half 1 hour in by the Beam Reflexor, an upgraded blaster that bounces off the walls, killing nearly everything on the screen. Once you get it, you'll never trade it for anything, with the Gyro Buster firing a UFO that kills everything on the screen. So easily the blaster is still the best weapon in the game. The Arc Wielder is an upgraded Vulcan Fury that fires an electricity blast, it's great for taking on robots and other electricity. The Needle Laser is the same thing as the Vulcan Fury, only it homes in on enemies. The Mass Inverter is an upgraded Peacemaker that actually doesn't do damage, but it reverses gravity so you can hurt enemies with other weapons. Lastly, the Supernova is a screen nuke, which pretty much explains itself, but it uses up almost all the Peacemaker ammo, so it's not particularly worth it. That's not the only way to upgrade your weapons, because you can also collect Precursor Orbs and play minigames to attain many of them. And you can use this to increase your weapons power, or invert the map, or take off Jack's goatee, or make bad weather, or buy new vehicles. After you beat the game, the funniest one is how you can literally get unlimited Dark Jack and Light Jack energy, and infinite health and infinite ammo, as if the game wasn't easy enough already. Jak 3 greatly streamlines the high difficulty of the last game. Jak 3 has plentiful checkpoints, armor upgrades that increase your health bars. Overall, Jak 3 is definitely a smooth experience. Jak 3 also improved the jet board with extra tricks, a high jump, and a melee attack. Dark Jack is also back and is improved, and we can do the Dark Jack bomb, the Dark Jack electricity at the start of the game, and we can now activate and deactivate Dark Jack no matter how much ammo you have. We can also use Light Jack for regeneration, slowing down time, a shield, and a flight ability. Well, it's not true flight, it's more of a glide, but still useful nonetheless. With all these abilities at our disposal, I can't say I care about the stuff I don't like about Jak 3 because the good parts are far more frequent than the bad parts, unlike Sly 3. But speaking of the stuff I don't like, how about those bosses? Similar to the first game, all of them are anticlimactic and easy except the final boss, in which the first phase drags on and on and on. We have to shoot these dots on the legs, and it's so precise you can spend several minutes on it, die, and have to do the whole damn thing again. And the second phase being really boring and easy. So for the sake of consistency, before we close today, let's talk about the Jak and Daxter HD collection. All 3 games in 720p, and honestly, other than one graphical glitch in one of the Jak 2 cutscenes, it's the best way to play these games. No complaints from me. It's just all 3 games, and it just looks really nice. What more could you want? Which does not apply to the Vita version, but since I can't record Vita games, I'll just sum it up as poor frame rate, terrible controls, because how heavily the port uses the barely functioning front and back touchpads for basic actions, like the L2 and R2 buttons, making all 3 games nearly unplayable. So that's Jak 3, and while I'd say I enjoyed Jak 2 more, Jak 3 is a great game that has great gameplay, awesome weapons, and expansive worlds. I'd say it's on par with Jak 1, but the story is weaker and the vehicles really drag the experience down. So yeah, good game, but it's not as good as Jak 2. So anyway, next time is Jak X Combat Racing for the PS2 and Daxter for the PSP. So then, I'll see you guys there.